What's going on, everybody? It is me, Jay Wilson. Do me a favor, like, share this video, and let's get some questions rolling because I want to check something real quick so I give you the right information. I hope everybody's enjoying their evening. I know all over the US, weather is weird, super weird. Mason's World 6000, yes, sir. I cannot change all of them as it will deter a lot of your views, but I will be working on those things. Yes, sir. Candy, what's going on? I hope you're doing well. But yes, with the wildfires and the hot weather and then the cold, man, North America has some crazy climates. I can tell you that. So do me a favor. If you're looking for Northfin food, Fritz products, things like that, go to Northfin USA and use code JWilson15, all caps. All caps, baby. All caps. Here, I'll even type it just so everybody has it. Woo-wee. Bang, just like that. Get 15% off. And you get free shipping over $70. So something cool. I have also, posted a poll to see when the members live would happen. So if you're a part of that, go ahead. And if you're not, you can still look at it and then make a vote and then go ahead and hit that join button. So where's everybody from? How's that? First off, I'd like to thank the members. I'd like to thank all the super chatters. I greatly appreciate everything you folks are doing. And this video was actually thought out. Sometimes for the lives, I just go straight. For the next 5 minutes, I will kind of give you a rundown of what's happening in the I don't even know what you call it, just the house with aquariums and vivariums and stuff. I'll give you the whole rundown, and then from there, we'll get into the topic of, does anybody know the topic, or did you just click? So the rundown is I have rescaped, in a sense, the zebra pleco tank. I've added more river stones. The driftwood is looking better. I said it was crap in a private setting in the members only, but I cleaned it off. I have got to make room for the paludarium. I pushed back the order of the fish. The fish were supposed to come Labor Day. I then pushed it back for obvious reasons because, well, I didn't have filtration. Filtration is now en route. Win-win. I'll get that up and running for Monday when the fish arrive. I still have to put the background on there in terms of the frosted background. I still have to get the sand ready. I still have to get the rocks ready. Whoo-wee! But I do have a special project that I will be showing tomorrow and part of it tonight on Instagram. Just kind of teasing it. It was kind of a cool thing. I purchased, Wendy and I she just happened to find an outdoor patio set. Technically, it was a dining room set, vintage. And, yeah, this is deja vu, Kenny. Nothing has changed with this tank. But I brought both vivariums inside. I'm working on them to get them better. I moved the saltwater tank. I confirmed that eShops has sent the equipment that is going to be needed for the saltwater tank. So there's lots of moving projects that are like small details that are falling into place. I finally got all the river stone there. Like I said, in the zebra pleco tank. The Congo tank is on fire, like perfect. I've got slender and two different spawns of regular buffalo head cichlids, left, right, and in driftwood. All of the slender, it's hard for me to get a shot. I'll try at night when there's zero reflection, but there's a knot inside the driftwood, and the female is hanging out inside, spitting the babies out. They'll come up and they'll go back down. And it's just really cool to see that there's 3 different families, non-crossed, in that tank. pretty sweet. So we got folks from Florida, New Mexico, and then that's it. Ontario, Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson, everyone. Larry, I hope you're doing well out there in Canada, eh? Let me see. I'm actually cold today. Yeah, it's cold here in Oklahoma too. It was like 90-something degrees. Oklahoma gets hot, but not as hot as, Texas and places like that. But it gets hot. And it was like 90-something the other day. And then I believe it was yesterday. Wendy, was it yesterday that it dropped? Weather. I don't know. Maybe it was yesterday. But it was like almost 90 degrees and then 55. Yeah. I like mid 60s. So a little chilly, but not bad. Kreger's Fish is in the house. Mason's World 6000 is in the house. Thank you very much, sir. Yes, I will take care of your stuff. Starting my 75 in Boona Cichlid tank this week. Your vid really helps from Virginia Beach. You got some really cool stores in Virginia Beach, my friend Justin, and good luck with your Boona Cichlid tank. Yancey from California. Man, I don't know where you're at in California, but I hope that you are doing well. So I've taken care of all of the things to take care of. I've taken care of finding out where everybody's from, making sure everybody's okay. Danny's Aquariums is in the house. And check out Northfin USA for 15% off. Become a member if you want. Do super chatting if you want. You can do whatever it is you want to do. But there are some things that are permanent that you have no control over in the aquarium hobby. With your aquarium, with what you do in the aquarium hobby, even in life. There are more than 3 things, but there are 3 key things that I believe are permanent. Everyone is going to experience them, and we're all going to deal with it in a completely different way. All of us. And I hope that you have mechanisms in place that can help you through some of these things. So if you saw the thumbnail, there was change, death, and innovation, right? So we're going to talk about change, right? When I was in the Navy, they would tell you the only thing permanent is change. Not your friends, not your shipmates, not where you're at, not what you're doing. Anything that you think is permanent is not, because it's just going to change. And that plays true with whatever you do. If you're keeping aquariums, if you're working, whatever it is, change is permanent. And what I mean by change is your aquarium scape is going to change over time on its own. Your fish are going to change over time. Behavior in your aquarium is going to change over time. The way you set your aquariums up, where you set your aquariums up, the whole 9 yards, which is a military term that just means all of it, is going to change. So what I'd love for folks to do is tell me, or tell everyone, the hardest part that you had to deal with in terms of change within the aquarium hobby. And I'll lump it in, whether you're keeping vivariums, you're keeping shrimp, you're keeping fish, you're keeping oxalotls, snails, hermit crabs, saltwater, freshwater, community, cichlids, African cichlids, new world, old world. I don't care what it is. How did you deal with the change? Did you just go with the flow, or what? What is it? How did you deal with that change? For me, it was moving from my house and then being in an interim where I really didn't have a place to live. And then I moved into an apartment. And the biggest change was I couldn't have larger aquariums. I couldn't have a 36 12 by 12. I couldn't have a 5 foot, a 6 foot, a 3 foot, a 4 foot. I couldn't have any of that. I had all these nano desktops. And ultimately, I struggled a lot with it. And the change for me was that I couldn't keep the fish that I enjoyed keeping, so I started to branch out. And the branching for me was small nano tanks tetras, shrimp. It was a completely different ballgame. And I didn't have as much excitement of it. I didn't even have my vivariums. Matter of fact, my vivariums were technically just declining. So there's a lot of change that happened within that. And I guess how I coped with it was I just stayed the course. I enjoy water in a glass box. I enjoy plants in a glass box. And I just did what I did to get through it. And it wasn't to stay relevant. It wasn't to stay so I had videos, because I really didn't put up many videos. I really didn't post that much. It was just me doing what it is that I wanted to do to maintain some sort of normalcy in the aquarium hobby for me. So folks, says the biggest change is setting up a new fish rack, rearranging a fish room of like 100 tanks. That's crazy, 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 crazy. Cost is the main issue. Just started doing research and looking to do things myself. So Justin's struggling with cost and trying to do things himself. I'm going to get to some of that here in a little bit. The hobby isn't cheap, that's for sure. Sometimes I have to move certain fish to another tank due to angels being aggressive when pairing up. That's a lot of change. That's a lot of stuff that happens. So let me just talk about something real quick. I see this all the time. Actually, I'm going to give you an actual scenario that happens a lot. And I've heard it. I've heard it by like big YouTubers. I'm talking YouTubers, 400,000+ subscribers have told me verbatim these things. So was going to say something as Jay Wilson. At the moment, I'm going through the same thing. The big D has me quickly out of the fish room to a tiny rental. So select pet. The best thing I can tell you is don't bite off more than you can chew, and really just find what works for you, even if it's just one tank. KG Cichlids, I struggle picking up a 75-gallon by myself. If it has anything in it, I can't pick it up. I can pick it up without anything in it, but it's because of the 4-foot length, right? I'm holding it really weird. But yes, it is very awkward. I wish aquariums were lighter. Okay, so I see a lot of cost. Cost is going to be a big issue in the aquarium hobby. So a lot of folks go, I'm going to DIY that, right? I'm going to DIY it. I'm going to find ways to make it cheaper on myself by making something that I can go buy. So we're going to tie this into innovation, right? Innovation is prevalent, will always be prevalent in pretty much any hobby category life. There's going to be innovation that sometimes makes things easier, maybe better, maybe sometimes worse, right? Maybe innovation isn't as good as we thought it would be. Maybe the innovation changes a complete dynamic of how we do something. We have to relearn that, right? So with innovation usually comes cost. So I'm going to discuss innovating like aquarium backgrounds. For instance, universal rocks. Build a stand with caster wheels to move tanks. Yes, but the caster wheels have to be able to hold it. They're custom manufacturers of aquariums do this all the time. Matter of fact, I'm having casters put on my paludarium so I can move it. That innovation comes with sometimes a cost. So aquarium backgrounds, I hear it all the time. It's too expensive. I can't afford it. I'll just do my own, right? I'll just create my own aquarium 3D background, okay? Everyone knows I use universal rocks. There is zero code anymore. And the reason behind that, not that anybody really needs to know, is because the code's been running for a long time. So people just had it. They weren't necessarily watching my videos. They would just click, look, boom, get out and go. And they really weren't doing, it was just out there too long. That's the best way I can explain it. It was just too accessible. So maybe at some point we're going to figure something out with universal rocks, but clearly I still use them. But I hear it time and time again. I should have just bought a background from Universal Rocks because at the end of the day, I didn't save much money, but I wasted more time. It takes a heck of a lot longer, and I have not seen one that has ever come out looking good. I'll be honest. And I couldn't tell you when I worked there how many times people would call and say, hey, I'm working on a 3D background. It didn't work out, so now I'm going to buy one from you. And while that's cool, that's something we have to think about. Is the innovation that is out there, or the innovation that potentially is coming out, is it going to be better for me because it is a change? And that change is going to be maybe better filtration, maybe better wattage for your pumps, maybe better heaters, which probably more than half of you are using heaters in the wrong way anyways. So realizing that at the end of the day, $400 should have probably been spent if you had it, and maybe you didn't need a background. Maybe it was just like, it's too expensive, I'm not going to do it. Because I can tell you time and time again that innovation in the aquarium background world, beat the DIY process. Never looks as good, takes too much time. And then what if you don't even use it after you've made it? Then it's a waste of materials. And then the time, the effort, the frustration, you got to add all that stuff up. That's where innovation usually kind of comes in. So, for instance, controllable pumps. Everybody, I don't need a controllable pump. You may not need a controllable pump. I like them on the Congo tank because I can fluctuate based on what nature does, right? The river doesn't run the same speed all of the time. It changes. And gallons per hour, I'm learning, don't really mean to me anymore. It's probably more feet per second. I watch a lot of guys that talk about some really detailed stuff, and the innovation out there is not happening with this. What is gallons per hour for us, right? Well, I want to push water in my aquarium. It's 100 gallons, so I want to do it 5 times. So I need 500 gallons per hour. That's what I need from my pump, whether it's a power head or whether it's a circulation pump. I need 5 times. No, a 550 gallons per hour wave pump, depending on how it's set up, if it's a wider flow, is not even going to go halfway past a 4-foot tank or a 5-foot tank. Is certainly not going to go across a 6-foot tank, right? So we got to think about other innovations where maybe we should start changing gallons per hour to feet per second. And then we don't have to waste money on certain things that we thought we needed and didn't get the right stuff, right? So when it comes down to it, change is always going to happen. Always, hands down. Your aquarium will change. Everything will change. Everything around you will change, and you have to deal with it. So if you're dealing with that change, how do you deal with change in life, right? You're like, oh yeah. My fish wrecked the tank. I had to move a couple, but yeah, I love it. But a drop-off point for a kid at school go from like drop-off A to drop-off B, and you're like, oh my goodness, life, what's going to happen? So we really got to just look at change as an inevitability. It's going to happen, and we have to find ways to process that information and go after it. I struggle with change. There are certain things that I'm like, oh my goodness, I wish I can change what is happening right now. And I can't, but I know that it will change itself, and I have to adapt along the way. And the faster we adapt to that change, the better off we are, right? And so innovation, it's changes in technology, it's changes in availability of certain fish, it's changes in the way fish get to you. There's so many different things that help kind of push us further along in the aquarium hobby and the reptile hobby and the amphibian hobby. So whatever it is you're doing, there's innovation. So how are we dealing with that? Are we utilizing it to our best advantages? We used to carry buckets around, then Python came out. And then from Python, I'm like, Python still takes too long. So now I use a specific pump that moves it 700 gallons per hour, right? At 10 feet. But that works because I don't need the water to go across a 6-foot tank. I needed to go from one point to another point. So whether it's a a bin or a tub or a tank or whatever it is when I'm doing water changes or refilling up. I have a pump that is super portable. It's easy. Didn't cost me any extra money to add any attachments. I drop that sucker in and I'm good. It's a win, right? That's innovation. Innovation is, adding a temperature probe inside a power head like my 2 power heads have. My Extreme SDCs, they have a temperature probe. They tell me what the temperature of my aquarium is. So for instance, 0 heaters on that aquarium in here. There is an AC vent right above. This is innovation. I didn't use heaters before this, but this just shows me that I don't need heaters. Do you see that? 78 and 79. One side of the aquarium is 1 degree warmer, and that 1 degree warmer comes from probably the sunlight or because the dang light is crooked. So this is the innovation I'm using to my advantage to prove not spending money on heaters. Not everybody can do that, but majority of us can. Let me get to some questions. Looks like crap. I don't know what he's talking about, but that's okay. Realizing the heavy-duty 600-pound per shelf units start sagging at 400 pounds. Yes, that shelf sucks. You ultimately have to get a better board and probably support it dead center because it's talking about, and if you read the box, it says displaced weight properly, right? So the weight displacement has to be even. Time is money for sure. I'm feeling you, but doing it myself is the best part. Justin, absolutely. Some things are just better done by yourself. They are. But I'm saying so we don't ever, I don't say we don't ever, but majority of the time we just go, we look, we go, that's too expensive. I'm going to make it. And at the end of the day, you may not be able to make it for anything close to what it costs. And I'm talking anything, a table. You can go buy, and this is anything, right? You can go buy a dog kennel, metal dog kennel. Put some plywood around, stain it, or put some nice wood around it and make it look fancy. People are like, no, I want the super fancy one. It's $200, all wood, particle board, on whatever big box retailer I'm going to get it from, but I'm going to go make it. And when it turns out they end up making it and the dang thing was $400 because of all the hinges, the cutting, and all that stuff, even if you had all the power tools. So we don't ever think about the cost of materials and time that gets put into it, which is why a lot of homemade stuff we see costs so much money. Some people value their time more than others. Using black and white sand, I did a beautiful bottom. Note, cichlids dig and spread sand. Yes. Can I do a prank on you, me knocking on your front door without you realizing? Sure, but now I'm going to know. For me, it's not all about showing off or saying what I have. It's about enjoying beauty in my home. Yeah, absolutely. I enjoy setting something up and I love it. And I enjoy sharing what I've created because I like doing that, right? And it's people can go, oh, you should have did it this way, or man, I should have did mine this way. And it just helps further us along. Well, the fish were supposed to be there a couple days ago. Yeah, the fish were. The tank is still missing something. The fish were supposed to be here Monday, but you missed it, Billy. We talked about that in the beginning. I pushed it back to this Monday. Well, Jay, what do you think would be a good idea to put in a 47.5 gallon or 180 liter tank? I'm only 5 months new to this hobby, so I don't know what to put in it. So let's just say 50 gallons, right? What do you have accessible? Do you like plants? If you like plants, don't get African cichlids. And what I mean by African cichlids is haps, peacocks, and Buna, Tropheus, don't get them. They're going to eat the crap out of the plants. If you don't mind fake plants, you can look at that. Do you want fast moving? Do you want slow moving? Do you want a mixture of something? Do you want color? Do you just care about a specific area? Do you want to recreate a specific area? There are so many different things that can go through your mind with a 50-gallon aquarium that it's insane. Sorry, I was late to the party. Had to pick up dinner. Yeah. I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. This may be off topic. I have a big live plant, a 10-gallon tank, and it is outgrowing it. Is it hard to replant it in a new tank, or will it hurt it? No. You can replant it. Just make sure you pull up the roots. Why not clip some of it? It's going to regrow. That's what you do with regular plants. That's what I do. I've got some plants that, I mean, with the flow, they rock back and forth, right? But, you know, if I need to clip something, I do it in my vivarium all the time. I got plants, they're hitting the screen. If they're a shaded cover plant, I don't know the names of these plants. Wendy does. If it's like a Lumisteria, Madagascar, I don't know. But if it hits the top and I don't like the way it looks, snip, 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 snip. Matter of fact, I went Edward Scissorhand on a vivarium, and I also took some plants out and moved it to the other vivarium. So yeah, it's pretty easy. Don't confuse me, Jay. Well, T-Bone, what would you like to keep? What is it you had in mind? When you got into the aquarium hobby a few months ago, you said, what drove you to go get that tank? That's the idea. Going to build a stand out of cinder blocks and wood and use rock and sand for from hardware store for scape. Going to spend money on filtering system. There you go. I mean, I can't do that. Not inside. I can't do it. I like a nice looking stand. I do like aesthetics, and it has nothing to do with showing off. It's what I have to look at. So what's neat is you can do that, and you can get some really nice rock and sand from a hardware store. The wood, I don't know. But yeah, I would love to see it, man. Tag me in some photos when it's all done. It'd be really cool. So the last part of this, in terms of those three, and I like to hear some that you know are permanent, that it's like change, it's inevitable, right? They're not going anywhere. Innovation's not going anywhere. This one's not going anywhere. Death. I had platies for almost a year. All of them died from something. I don't know what happened. Look, that was weird. I said death and that message came in, that comment. Death. It's inevitable. Very inevitable. Josh Cunningham last week, death. Me on the move, some death. Michael Bird, death. I've got a friend here in Oklahoma City, death. But why? What's the deal? Why do we have to freak out when it happens, right? We don't know how old the fish are. 0. You go and buy a puppy and they tell you the dog is 9 weeks old. Kitten. This cat is 12 weeks old. A baby. You know how old they are. A bird. When you buy a bird, they tell you how old the bird is, right? When you go and buy a fish, they don't tell you that this fish is 2 years old or 3 months old, or this fish is 4 inches at a max growth of 6 inches, and it's only 5 months old because it's been accelerated with a crap ton of nasty food, which predominantly spreads the market, and it got big fast, and it's colorful, but it's going to die in about a year from fatty liver disease, and you're not going to know. And what's going to happen is that fish is going to go belly up, or it's going to bloat out, or it's going to have some sort of issue, and it's going to get a cloudy eye, and then it's going to start floating around, and you're going to try to save it, and you're going to set up a 45-gallon tank or a 20-gallon tank, and you're going to be like, woo, we're going to save this beauty. And while I agree with you, if there's an opportunity to potentially save a fish, do it. But I can probably tell you that 75% of the time, there is no going back on that fish. And the only thing you're doing is wasting emotions, time, effort, and lots of money, because chances are you're looking to medicate and you're circling the internet. Everything I see, no matter what it is, if your fish has cancer or your fish has a little fin nippage, everybody says, raise the temperature, add salt. It's silly. The deal is, just like any human being, comfort, less stress, proper diet can keep your fish going a long time. Making sure they have good genetics will also keep that fish going a long time. So death, you're going to deal with it. I hate to tell you, actually I don't hate to tell you. I enjoy telling you that it's going to happen, and you have to figure out how to deal with it. You have to figure out that there is a point where this fish, I am going to have to make the decision to either take care of this fish. And what I mean by take care of this fish is put the fish out of its misery. Or am I going to set up a 10, a 20, a 30-gallon tank where that fish is going to just bounce around floating, getting medicated, salt, up, down, lights on and off. You going, you're doing all right in there, little buddy. You got it. Daddy's going to get you some Maricin. I'll be right back. And you're just dumping stuff. You don't even know what's wrong. You have no idea. You have no idea. Fish dies. End of the world. Now you have to figure out why that fish died. And now you're worried about your tank. So you're medicating the crap out of your tank because that's where the fish came from. And you're afraid that all of this disease and virus that's happening in your aquarium is going to spread prolifically, which it can happen. But majority of the time, it's not happening. It's our overreaction and our non-patience. Our hands go in it. We're, oh my goodness. It's like we're making like gumbo. We're throwing stuff in. The fish are like, what the heck? You're like, medication food, antibiotics. Let's go. I feed my fish antibiotics every day. I feed them every week with it. This is absolutely asinine what we do in terms of medicating and taking care of fish that inevitably are dying, are already 3/4 of the way towards the line of death. So how big is it? Can we eat it? I mean, yeah, if you're keeping peacock bass and stuff like that, I'm sure. I'm not eating a cichlid, though. It's probably not very good. So Michael Bird said they were swimming like their back was broke. Whew. Justin Lawrence said, you're telling me I'm a trauma surgical technician. Good grief. Finding out that a corridor is fat because it was eating all my fry. Whew. That's a lot of death happening in that tank. I try to make light of this because there is just so much non-talk about it. What do you do with the fish when it dies? I'd like to know right now, when the fish dies, what do you do with it? I want you to be honest. If you put it out in your pond on a little boat and you light a fire for a Viking burial, I want to know. If you flush that thing down the toilet, I want to know. If you bury it in the garden, I want to know. I'll tell you mine if you tell me yours. And I will. I will tell you exactly what I do with a fish. I don't care what anybody thinks about it because I have to make the decision. 6-pack ice, what are you keeping? Arowana? Because majority of you do something not very good at all with that dead fish. So I'll say it right now. If you flush it, it's horrible. Not for the fish, for everything else. It totally disrupts the bacteria. It totally disrupts the whole sewage system. Everybody just thinks, put it down there. Heck no, man. There's a lot of crap that can happen with that. And it has bones, so it takes a long time for bones to kind of go away. And you got to realize that they're treating it for specific things and you're just flushing it down the toilet. No bueno. Stop. I don't care where you live. You can live on the 100th and 80th floor at Co-op City, or you could live 3 floors into the ground because you're prepping for the world to end. I don't care. Don't flush it. I bury it. I bury it in the outside plants. That's a part of life. It happens. Yes. Give it to my cat. Depends on if I don't know. I guess I would be afraid to give it to my cat just because of the thought that if something was seriously wrong. My uncle works at the water plant. It's okay to flush it. I can tell you right now that bacteria disruption is not okay to flush it. It's okay for them because they could just add more chemicals. It's not good to flush. Straight up. This is coming from like a dude that used to do YouTube and cichlids and worked for a water company in Georgia. And it's crazy. Somebody said slingshot it wherever it lands. Good night. No, man. No. All right, I'll tell you what I do. I actually will leave it in the front yard. I haven't done it here yet because I haven't had death like that. But my other houses, I would leave it in the front yard or the backyard. Because I couldn't tell you how many times a red-tailed hawk, or it's like Lion King, it's a circle of life. Boom, they'd swoop down, take it, and go. If I could catch it while it was happening, it would have been the most epic video, but it happens. And there was bobcats and coyotes. And so the idea was I was either putting it in the garden or I was tossing it out on the front lawn for the wildlife. I don't flush it. I don't condone flushing it. Somebody said Viking burial. Yeah. Trash can. Half of you still need to hit the like button. Candy's all over it. Grind it into fish food. There's lots of ways. Reduce, reuse, recycle. But what if, okay, so we got to the point where the fish is dead, and now we know what we should do with it. You're going to do whatever it is you want to do. I'm going to do whatever it is I do. I'm either burying it in plants, or I'm using it for food for the bugs to feed the bioactive vivariums, because you could do that too. Or I leave it out in the front. I don't save it. Very rarely do I throw it away. I never flush. But what do you do if the fish is on his way out? How do you accelerate the inevitable? I'm not talking about perfectly healthy fish. I'm talking about a fish that is just not going to make it. What do you do? And the reason why I ask these questions is because everybody's afraid to talk about it, right? And everybody has a way. And I know that all my fish is going to die. So they research the best way, and then they do something and they're like, oh my goodness. And then they go back and then they go, oh, I should have researched more. It's because nobody talks about it. No one. 0 people talk about it. How do you off your fish when you know the inevitable is happening? I can tell you right now that very rarely now do I invest a ton of money and effort in terms of setting up a tank, med tank. Most of the time, it's what goes in now is what stays there, and I don't add anything. The scary part is it's because I usually don't have room for any sort of quarantine right now. So they're going into their own aquariums, brand new, we're good to go. So how do you off your fish? Mail it to my ex. Whew. I think that would get you in trouble. Although pretty good. But he said bag it and freeze it. What are you going to do? I told you what I would do. I had a fish die last week, but the only thing left was a couple of bones. Well, your other fish tank mates enjoyed a nice little meal. Let's see. Water changes, I feel being done more often is better than medication. It's true, but the other part of that is, so if you've got a sick fish and you're doing water changes, what happens, right? Is the pH the same? Is the alkalinity the same? There's a lot of different things that happen that could pose more stress on that fish. So it's one of those weird things. Now, comments have definitely not caught up because you guys were commenting like crazy and now it's completely stopped. So unless this thing is buffered and it's over, I don't know. But what I can tell you is there are things that you are going to have to deal with as a fish keeper, whether it's change in what happens, whether it's death of fish in an aquarium, or whether it's a disease that spreads death through your aquarium. And if you're ready to take on new innovation to make life easier with your aquarium. Not all of it is easier. Some of it's very expensive. And it's funny because I laugh because I see the saltwater side and I see the freshwater side because of working with CICHLIDS. And I find it very, very funny when, somebody says, hey, what light do you recommend? Or, hey, what pump do you recommend for this? And then I tell them, and let's say I'm just going to make it up. The light is $130, right? They go, whoa, $130. Too expensive. Way too expensive. But this person just spent $400 on fish. But the light to showcase the fish of $130 is just far too expensive. So I laugh because maybe you do know, maybe you don't know. But these saltwater people, my goodness. A light this big, $200, $250. A light this big, $600, $700. Yeah. I can outfit 6 tanks. I can outfit 4 tanks and have money left over to do some really cool stuff. So there's just innovation sometimes is fantastic, and you just really have to research to find out if it's good. So I seriously don't know what's happening with the chat because I don't see anything. It's just not here. It's just to a halt. Maybe it's frozen. I don't know. But this is what I will say about death. If I know a fish is not going to make it, I am a swift, blunt force trauma. I will catch that fish and I will make contact to the fish's head very swiftly. One time, does not happen twice. I make sure of it. And it's the fastest way to get that fish to zero that I have found. I found some things that people do are very inhumane because they don't realize that the fish is suffering. Freezing the fish is just freezing, like literally freezing to death. Think about it. Alcohol doesn't do it. It's very slow and painful. I forgot what it was. I think it's some sort of oil. It's very slow and painful. Clove oil. Very slow and painful. Blunt force trauma. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. So it sucks. I haven't had to do it in a while, but it's something that I found is the most swift and least painful in terms of prolonged pain for that animal. So that's some pretty crap stuff. Death is permanent. It's happening. If you keep fish, it's either going to die or you're going to give it away, and that person's going to have that fish when it dies. Fish die for random reasons. Living things die for random reasons. Innovation happens. It's permanent. It's going to keep happening. Whether there's no innovation for 6 months, the 6 months after that, there could be a ton of innovation. Change. It's the major permanency. I don't even know if that's a word, but it's major and it's sticking and you're figuring it out. If you're keeping aquariums, you're figuring it out. So I will end with this. Life has innovation. Life has death. And there's lots of change through life. You have 2 choices. You can adapt to the change, or you can go against the change. By going against the change, and I'm talking full on, against the change, you are going to find that life is going to be very, very difficult. Doesn't mean you have to agree with all the change, but you have to figure out a way to adapt to that change that is happening in your life. And if you don't, I hope you have some really good coping mechanisms. Innovation will happen medically, technologically, financially, no matter what. Innovation, technology, new things are coming out each and every probably second. And you don't have to adapt. Remember when we didn't have mobile phones? Remember when we had bag phones, car phones, big candy bar phones, flip phones, button phones, Blackberries, Sidekicks, Palm, Pilots. You remember all that? And now we have a phone that is just a screen. The adaptation to this has been fantastic. What's crazy is life is almost revolving around this. Business is being conducted. Big deals are being done with this. Orders are being done with this. Shipping tracking, communicating with loved ones. This is innovation that you've adapted to, and you're using parts of this technology in your everyday life to go with the change that's happening. And then there is death. And I was actually reminded of that today in a very, very weird way. It was my grandmother's birthday today, and I text her on her birthday. She never responds. I got like 4 numbers for her. My mom called me on video chat, and I got to see her, and we were just talking. And the last time I was there, we did not see each other. I don't know if it was timing or what it was. I think I was available. I made myself available. I was at my sister's house, but I think she was going through some stuff. But she said to me today, "When am I going to see you? Because I'm going to die, and I want to see you before I die." She's not going to, technically anything can happen, but she's not going to die tomorrow. So my goal is to get there before the end of the year. She's also never met my son. Neither has my mom. Neither has my sister. Nobody on my side of the family has met my son. And partially my doing, partially some other stuff. But when my grandmother said that, I went with it as a joke. But it's a realization that life is fragile. Things are fragile, and death happens. And we need to stop looking at it as this scary thing. And we need to start embracing the people around us. We need to start loving better. We need to start communicating better. We need to start showing empathy better. We need to start understanding other people, other cultures, other religions, whatever it is. It is not about accepting everything. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we need to understand better, because death happens like that. And that loved one that you didn't understand, that you didn't communicate with, that you didn't empathize with, that you just cut out of your life, like I did to my mom for some personal reasons that I've talked about before. Did you get to do everything you wanted to do with them? Did you get to say everything you wanted to say with them? And do you want the last thing that has ever been communicated together to be something negative? The world is changing. You got to change with it. If you're not innovating, somebody else is. And sometimes innovation can help things run a little bit smoother. Sometimes it doesn't. But look at the innovation as potential treat, a potential snack for life that you can grab at and utilize to further yourself. And understand, confront, and realize that death is inevitable. We have no expiration date, no best used by date. And so we really need to do everything it is we are trying to do in this life, starting right now. And you're worth it. You're worth it to yourself, to your family, to your friends, to people you haven't been in contact with in a very long time. I appreciate you coming out. I apologize if you asked a ton of questions. I don't even know if this thing is really still going, but I am. So if you're not a member, become a member. Check out northfinusa.com. And I greatly appreciate you taking time out of your Wednesday night to hang out and chat about some things that aren't really talked about very much in the industry. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have fun with your family, and enjoy dinner. or whatever it is you're doing right now. You know what's next. Do you? How?